Greetings, beautiful people from Instagram. It is certainly a pleasure for me to be with you today. I came to talk about this beautiful month of November. So, November is Cancer Awareness Month, and it's the month for all types of cancer. October was for breast cancer, and of course, September was for ovarian cancer. But I wanted to bring awareness to every type of cancer in this month of November. So on May 5th, I was given a diagnosis of stage 4 ovarian cancer. And so that's what I want to talk about, because, how did I get to this stage so quickly? When I went into my doctors, they told me that ovarian cancer is something that is so aggressive. You can go from stage 1 to stage 4 within a 6 months time period. It was astonishing, of course. When you get this diagnosis, nobody's never, ever prepared to be told, oh, you have cancer, and so I want to be able to bring awareness in order to bring prevention, because another thing that I found to be very important is so many people within my very own family had cancer, and there was some conversation, but not enough conversation to prevent me from being where I'm at right now and to prevent others. So now I'm taking it upon myself, of course, to be an advocate in this area of prevention of cancer. And really, when you speak about it, it brings awareness not just to my type of cancer, but to every type of cancer. And so I will, be coming on here live and talking about the warning signs, the symptoms that I had and ignored. One of the biggest ones for me was when I started experiencing coughing. I was coughing, and when I coughed, I couldn't laugh. So cancer took away my ability to laugh. I would start laughing and go into immediate coughing. So I thought maybe I'm just sick, no big deal. Then I started experiencing some shortness of breath. And yet and still, I just moved to Atlanta, Georgia. October makes 1 year. And so I thought, okay, maybe it's the weather, because coming from West Palm Beach to Atlanta, we all know that, there's more potent, more polyps, in the air with Atlanta. So I thought maybe that was the reason why I was experiencing the shortness of breath. But being able to tell the story of that day when I finally made it into the emergency room and the event that took place, and everything was just such a shocker. But I still had peace. I still had the peace of God as God began to reveal the whole story to me. I wanted to point out the fact, too, that with the symptoms of laughing, not being able to laugh without coughing, right? My lungs had collapsed. Let me correct that. One of my lungs had collapsed, right? And what happened with that is, even though I had a collapsed lung and I had fluid, I had more than 1 liter of fluid on my lungs that they had to, of course, drain from my lungs, and I went through that process as well. But having that fluid on my lungs and not knowing, because the other lung was compensating for it. And so I was still at 100% oxygen saturation level. So you could be experiencing a lung collapse and not know it, because your other lung compensates and you're still able to breathe. But my lung had collapsed, and the cancer had moved from the original site was the ovaries. So by then, the cancer had moved from the ovaries to my lung. It had metastasized. And now, here it is. I have that cancer and that fluid built up in my lungs. And thank God for his protection, because if that fluid had moved to my second lung, then that would have been a different story. So God kept me. And what the doctors discovered, because of the color, it was like a dark color as well. Because of the color of the fluid, it meant that that cancer had been there for quite some time. They couldn't even discover exactly when that fluid had started accumulating on my lungs. But I'm grateful, I'm grateful to God that, something that was supposed to, even with the fluid on my lungs, something that was supposed to be ongoing process only lasted, with me having to get the fluid drained from my lung. I ended up having to see a pulmonary specialist, every month. So every like 4 months, I was getting fluid drained from my lung as well, as a result, once again, from that cancer metastasizing from my ovaries to my my lungs. And so what happened? What did I not pay attention to? What did I ignore? Number one, the coughing. Number three, there were several things. I remember having this band around my my abdomen area where I had a breakout, and because also I have another diagnosis, NF1, and I'll explain that a little bit later. I thought it was due to that. I was making too many assumptions. Do not make assumptions in life. Go and get checked out. If you have a rash, a breakout, doesn't matter how much you think you may know within yourself, go and get checked out. I had some phenomenal, I have a phenomenal team of healthcare workers there at not only at Grady Hospital, but at the Cancer Center. They have I don't want to use the word cater, but they have provided so much of all of my needs. I said, even though I'm having this experience, I have nothing to complain about, because the service has been phenomenal. And with that, once again, rash breakout, it took me a while. By the time I went to the hospital, it cleared up by itself. And so it wasn't even something that I mentioned to the doctors until later on in my treatment. And so it made it where I had to get a whole team of medical care, from having to get not only an oncologist, I had to go now and consult a neurologist, I had to go and consult a dermatologist, and several other healthcare components. But let's talk about being able to discuss cancer. At least 20 something people in my family had cancer. So once again, how did I end up having cancer without it being talked about? And so when I did my genetic testing, it was discovered that I had the BRCA1 mutation. And so that's something that's present from since birth. So it wasn't because I wasn't eating the right foods, because I am a very health conscious person. I do intermittent fasting. I do my juicing. I wasn't even eating meat. In fact, during this process, the doctors told me I had to put meat back into my diet. They told me I had to put protein back into my diet. So it had nothing to do with what I was eating. It didn't have to do with my environment. Although those are components, so those are some components that can cause cancer as well. But my cancer was caused based upon genetics. And that's why I said it's so important for us as when we're family, right? For our families to be able to communicate and provide the information when you're going in and you discover that you have cancer. Try somehow to share with your family, even if you just have to write it down, whenever you're ready, because you can't push nobody to share what is private. But when you're ready, try to have some form of documentation, because what I had to do in order for the genetic testing, I had to speak to one of my older cousins, and she said, well, your grandmother had cancer, and your great grandmother, and your uncle, and your great aunt, and it was a list of people that had cancer. And in fact, I have a cousin now that is having this experience at the same time that I'm having it. She has the same type of cancer, and we have the same birthday, and we're more in communication before than we were. And so with having the understanding that I have the genetic gene for cancer, which is that BRCA1 mutation, what this means now, they're predicting that somewhere around the age of 40, you should be more monitored, and then make the decision to have your fallopian tubes removed, because that's where the source of the cancer is. This was just discovered in the recent 5 years as a prevention tool. And so I've already been through the process of surgery, and I'll be talking about that at a later time. But when they did the surgery, and they after coming back from my second visit after surgery, that's what I want to say. After coming back from my visit after surgery, and they told me the pathology was proven that the cancer did originate in the fallopian tube. So my cancer originated in the fallopian tube, so which meant if I had my fallopian tubes removed, it would have prevented me from having this form of cancer. So that is something that, like I said, is a preventative measure. That is something that I want to document. And now I'm telling my family, I'm telling my nieces, I'm telling my sister, go and get tested. Let's see what your genetics are saying, and then you can choose to use the information however you want. Nobody can force you, but at least now you know, and you know some tools that you can use. And let's talk about this as well. And this is going to be my last tool, because this is just an introductory of some of the information that I want to be giving out, and want you to be educated on, so that you can be better prepared. Did you know that as a woman, your God created us to have children? And when you don't have children, they said you're even more susceptible. And so what made me more susceptible to getting cancer as well is the fact that I didn't have any children. Who would have guessed, right? So let's stay educated in this month of November. Love on your family members. Love on the men, the boys, the children. Because, like I said, this is Cancer Awareness Month, not just for ovarian cancer, but for children that are experiencing cancer as well, for our older people, everyone, and letting them know that they're not alone. And you can't listen because it's just too much to bear and to hear. Just give a smile. Just send a text, whatever method that you can give to a cancer patient. Be that, and also be that advocate to share this information that I'm sharing with you. Prevention, and having a discussion with your family members, and making sure they're doing the necessary tests, and I'll be providing that information as well. I'll leave some information here after this video that you can check out in the chats. Please feel free to leave comments, but I'm going to leave some information. I'll be providing resources where you can get help. I mean, coming to Georgia was the best move that I could ever have made, because the healthcare system here is amazing. The resources that have been provided from me, from the American Cancer Association, has been amazing. From the National Coalition for Cancer Association, they have all given back, and so I want to give back by doing my part in advocating. So thank you for listening, and those of you who are live listening, blessings to you for being here, and I truly appreciate your presence. Blessings, and be at peace. Bye for now.